Hey guys, Yip here, and this is going to be another guide video. This one's going to be about Destruction Warlock. It's going to be a relatively quick guide, and the reason I wanted to cover it is a lot of people talked about Destro, talked about they wanted me to, talk about Destro myself. Now, I'm not as experienced as Destro as probably some other Warlocks out there, but I do know quite a bit about it. I have played it before, and I would like to just quickly go over that for those who are interested in Destruction on my channel. So, quickly first, I want to talk about talents. Now, talents for Destro are pretty straightforward, pretty basic. There are some set ones they want to be running for different things, and I'm going to quickly go over those. So, the first talent that you generally want to run is going to be the Backdraft talent. Backdraft just increases the cast time of your next 3 consecutive spells, Chaos Bolt and Incinerate by 30%. Really powerful talent. Basically, just give your abilities Bloodlust every single time you press Conflag for your next 3 casts. Super good, right? It just saves you a lot of time, gets you ahead, gives you that haste for those abilities. Really, really cool. I like it a lot. It's a really good single target and cleave ability. I would recommend taking this basically for every single fight. It's probably going to be better for most Warlocks than the other option, which is Roaring Blaze. Roaring Blaze, what it does is it's basically a single target / 2 target cleave talent. It's not good for anything besides that. What it does is every time you press Conflag, it increases the damage of your remaining Immolate by 25%. So what that means is basically if your Immolate was doing 100 damage, it would then do 125 damage when you press this, and then you press it again, it will do like 160 damage. You press it again, it will do like a 200% increased damage, or 200 damage. So yeah, really, really good talent. It's good for single target, it's good for cleave, but basically probably most Warlocks are going to be wanting to run the talent Backdraft. Shadowburn is more of a leveling talent, you can kind of ignore it. So yeah, moving on to the next tree, Mana Tap is a talent that you can ignore as well. Cataclysm, what you want to use Cataclysm for is for Mythic Plus situations where your tank is pulling a lot of mobs and you want to get Immolate on all of them really quickly while doing a lot of damage to them. This is going to be your AoE talent to run in this tree. It's a little bit more annoying than Reverse Entropy because Reverse Entropy does give you mana back, but it's still a really good Mythic Plus talent. I wouldn't recommend running it in raiding though, as it doesn't give you too much of a benefit. Now, what Reverse Entropy does is it reduces the cast time of your Chaos Bolt by 0.5 seconds, and Rain of Fire and Chaos Bolt now restore 35% of your maximum mana. Super, super, super powerful ability. What this does is it allows you to generate mana while using your Soul Shard spenders, but not only that, reducing the cast time of Chaos Bolt by 0.5 seconds is huge, especially for 2-target cleave, as it you just gain so much time. You gain so much more buttons you can press because your Chaos Bolt is just going out that much quicker. Plus, you're gaining all that time from not mana tapping. Just a really, really efficient talent to be running. For your level 60 next damage talent trees, what you want to run is Eradication for every single boss fight, basically, in World of Warcraft. And then you want to run Fire and Brimstone for Mythic Plus. Fire and Brimstone is your baseline AoE talent in this tree, while Eradication just every time you Chaos Bolt increases the damage you deal with the target by 12% for 6 seconds. Obviously, this is really powerful for single target. It's really powerful for 2-target cleave. Anything beyond that, Fire and Brimstone might take over, but even then, Eradication is just super, super powerful. Now, for your level 90, you want to generally either run Service for single target or Sacrifice for everything else. So any fight where it's going to have some sort of add that spawning, things like that, you probably want to run Sacrifice. But generally, for pure single target, Service is going to be the talent that's going to push you up there. So, Service for single target, Sacrifice for AoE and Mythic Plus, things like that, as it's just going to be doing a lot more damage for you. And for your level 100 talent tree, the choice is between Soul Conduit and Wreak Havoc. Now, Wreak Havoc is obviously your cleave talent, while Soul Conduit is the talent you want to be running when you're on pure single target, because obviously you're not going to get any benefit out of Wreak Havoc for pure single target. So that's talents really quickly, really quick overview. This is generally the build you want to run for AoE, and this is the build you're going to want to run for single target. So after talents, I just want to quickly talk about gearing. So with gear as a Destro Warlock, basically the guidelines is Intellect is greater than Haste, which is greater than Crit, which is approximately greater than Mastery, which is approximately equal to Versatility. So those are the general values that you want to get. Now, the guideline for Destro Warlocks, what I would recommend you guys go for is get over 30% haste, get roughly equal to 30 or over 30% haste, and then after you get that, get around 20 to 25% crit. So those are the stat lines you want to generally be looking for to start, is over 30% haste, and then, 20 to 25% crit after that. Really, really powerful stat lines, and then Intellect is obviously just a really good stat for you as it increases the damage of your abilities. So yeah, that's gearing really quickly. Get over 30% haste for sure, just to make your Immolates tick faster, and then get that crit for your Immolates to have an increased chance to generate you Soul Shards. Talking about the artifact weapon really quickly, I'm not going to go too much on the artifact weapon. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to include a link below to an artifact weapon guide that's going to show you how, like, which way you want to be going as Destro. But basically, you want to get the imp increased damage, then you want to get the conflagration of chaos, then you want to get the Lord of the Flames, and then you want to get Dimensional Ripper. But I'm going to include a link in the description. Go check it out of the general way you want to go about getting your talents as a Destruction Warlock. So, that was about 3 minutes, really quick, talents, gearing, and your artifact weapon, and now I want to get into the core part of the video, which is how to deal damage as a Destruction Warlock, which is really what I think most people are here for. So, how you deal damage as a Destruction Warlock, single target is really quite easy, especially when you're running an ability like Backdraft. So, the way that Backdraft works, and the way that why it's so efficient, is when you have an immolate already precasted on the target, this is going to be generating you soul shards, okay? So this is your soul shard generator. You always want to have 100% uptime on immolate as every single spec you're running as Destro. It's one of your most powerful, hard-hitting abilities. So when you have immolate up on the target and it's generating you those soul shards, what you want to do for your base damage rotation while you're just attacking the boss is every time you press conflag, you want to do Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt combo. And when you want to do this combo is generally when you're at 3+ soul shards, because you're going to be able to do 2 chaos bolts without wasting any shards. If you're sitting at 1 shard or 2 shards, sometimes you won't be able to get off that combo because you won't get the soul shard refunds, or you just won't have enough shards to do 2 chaos bolts. And if you don't have enough shards to do chaos bolts, what you can do is you can press chaos bolt, and then you can just do 2 incinerates afterwards. The reason you want to do it in that order is so all the abilities after you press your first chaos bolt will be buffed by the eradication. So that's the general single target damage rotation. I'm going to show you how you do the opener, and then after the opener how to DPS and things like that. So for the opener, what you do is you cast Immolate, Conflag, Chaos Bolt, Incinerate Chaos Bolt, Dimensional Rift, Grimoire Imp, Doomguard, Conflagrate, Chaos Bolt. Now that might sound like a lot, but it's really not too bad, and you're going to see it in the video, and you're probably going to be able to replicate it. It's really, really easy. So all you do is you Immolate, Conflag, Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, Double Dimensional Rift, Imp, Doomguard. Chaos or Conflag, and then you want to cast a Chaos Bolt if you can, if you have enough shards. And then after that, you just go about your single target rotation. You do the Conflag, Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt combo. You just start casting Incinerates again. Once your Eradication is starting to fall off, you want to Conflag again, get that Chaos Bolt buff out again, cast 2 Incinerates with the rest of it. You don't have enough shards. And just go on with this rotation. Keep your Immolate up on the target. Just keep casting Incinerate until you generate enough soul shards to where you can keep going. And then, you have enough soul shards, you press Conflag, and then cast a Chaos Bolt with that. Try to maintain as much high uptime on Eradication as possible. So yeah, if you have an excessive amount of soul shards, you can do the Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt combo. If you don't have an excess, don't worry about it. Just try to keep uptime on that Eradication buff. And this is the Destro single turret DPS rotation with Backdraft. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. That's how you do your opener. That's how you do your DPS. As you see, your Imp Firebolt does a lot of damage with your pet. And I was doing decent damage and I didn't even have my Imp attacking. So that's how the Destruction single turret rotation goes with Backdraft. Now I'm going to talk about how you do it with Roaring Blaze. Now, aside from the opener, which I went over before, the way you want to be playing with Roaring Blaze is you want to get your Roaring Blaze and then Conflag twice, cast Chaos Bolt, and then Incinerate. You don't want to Conflag more than twice into your initial Immolate, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so you Conflag twice into your initial Immolate to get that stacking buff, and then once it's on the Pandemic timer, what you're going to do is you're going to recast your Immolate, double Conflag, and then cast Chaos Bolt to keep Eradication up. And all you want to do with Chaos Bolt is only worry about keeping Eradication up. Or if your soul shard capped, obviously you can use one. But you want to make sure you're maintaining that that Eradication buff up, and then every time that Immolate despawns, you want to cast it again, and then you want to wait until you have 2 Conflag charges, cast it again. I'm going to Chaos Bolt here first, and then I'm going to double Conflag into this Immolate, and then you want to throw one more Conflag into that Immolate and no more. So basically, every single Immolate that you get out on the target, you're going to want to be using 3 Conflags on. Sorry, I didn't use it here. You want to use 3 Conflags on, and the reason you want to use 3 is because it's just been determined to be the maximum amount that's efficient. So once you don't have 2 Conflag charges, you just want to cast another Immolate on the target. Once you start getting close to 2, you cast it again, you double Immolate on the target, and then you just, go about maintaining your eradication. It's a pretty straightforward rotation. It's a little bit more in depth than the backdraft one, just because you want to be maintaining that 3 can flag on every single immolate 100% of the time, and you also want to make sure you're only doing it on pandemicked immolates. And what I mean by pandemicked immolates is, you see, I'm not casting an immolate here and then conflagging immediately after. I wait until I get 2 charges, and I pandemic this immolate, I recast it, and then double conflag into it like this, okay? So that's how this DPS rotation works. If you want to be even more efficient with it, what you can do, I'll show you in this next one, is precast a Chaos Bolt before you recast your immolate, so you get that 12% damage increase on those conflags. So I'll show you here. So my immolate's running out, I'm generating those conflag charges, my immolate runs out, I cast the immolate, I'm close to 2 charges, I cast it again. Oh, I don't have enough soul shards. Let's wait here a second. So let's imagine I have more soul shards here. I prepared myself. Okay, I have soul shards, so I cast my immolate, and then I precast a Chaos Bolt, and then I double conflag into this for the eradication buff, and then I go back to my normal rotation. So that's kind of how the damage rotation works for the backdraft on single target. It's relatively, I think it's overall better if you don't have the belt for single target, but if you have the belt, backdraft is just way better because you're just casting more fire spells and generating more shards over the course of a fight. So yeah, that's Destro single target. It's fairly straightforward, but obviously the main part of this video is going to talk about cleave and the AoE for Mythic Plus. So the next portion of this video I want to talk about is how to cleave effectively as a Destro Warlock. And the cleave talents you want to be running are Sacrifice and Wreak Havoc. So let me get my info here, and let me sack him. Set this guy to focus. So, as a Destro Warlock, a lot of fights, there's going to be 2 targets for you to cleave. A good example of this is like on Cenarius, when the tree and the dragon spawn in heroic mode, and you have to kill them together, or the 2 sisters spawn, or the dragon and the sister spawn, or whatever. You have 2 targets, and you want to cleave them. So, I'm going to talk about cleave with Wreak Havoc, and then cleave without Wreak Havoc. So when you're cleaving with Wreak Havoc, the most efficient way you can use your globals is you want to Wreak Havoc the focus target immediately, okay? You want to Wreak Havoc the focus target right away, and you want to maintain uptime on that Wreak Havoc. It does not pandemic, you have to refresh it, it's only 20 seconds, okay? After you Wreak Havoc, you want to cast an immolate, or I should be running backdraft for this actually. Backdraft tends to be more efficient for cleaving than Roaring Blaze does. So I want to switch to that really quickly. So, you cast an immolate, you press conflag, and then you do the Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt combo. And then you just maintain uptime on the immolate. You also want to maintain high uptime on eradication while you're doing this. And the reason you want to maintain high uptime on eradication is just because it's a 12% DPS increase on both of these targets. And the rotation for this is really, really smooth. It's really, really straightforward. It's basically your single target rotation, but mirrored on 2 targets. And the reason it's so much more smooth and better is because you have 2 immolates out, so you're generating a lot more soul shards than you normally would. So this is what you should be looking like when you're cleaving as a Destruction Warlock on 2 targets. Looks pretty good, right? Looks pretty tasty. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just try to maintain as high uptime on that eradication buff as you can. And you want to make sure you're doing that Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt combo whenever possible, whenever you have a conflag up. And you generally will have enough shards to do this because you have 2 immolates out instead of 1. So yeah, it's really nice. Feels really comfortable. You know, you do good damage as this. So yeah, that's the cleaving rotation. Basically what happens is the ad spawns, you Havoc 1, you cast Immolate on the other, you conflag, you Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, and then Chaos Bolt, and then you conflag, and then you double Incinerate. And yeah, you're just gaining a lot of DPS. It's pretty fun to run. You feel very powerful when you're doing this sort of build. You feel very strong. So yeah, that's how you do this rotation. You just maintain 100% uptime on Immolate, and you want to be using your conflags and things like that at appropriate times. Now, cleave with Roaring Blaze. Okay, slightly more interesting. Pretty good damage. I used to run this on Dragons Heroic when only the 2 dragons respawn and maximize my DPS on those 2 dragons. And the way you want to be doing this build is you want to have Havoc out on 1 target, okay, like this. So you want to have Havoc out. You want to double cast Immolate on the first target, and then conflag twice, and then go about your normal rotation. And then once conflag comes off cooldown again, you press conflag, and basically you just want to keep full uptime on these buffed Immolates on the target with conflag. So when my Immolate's about to fall off, I'm going to wait till I get 2 charges again, just like on single target. It's the exact same. I wait till I get 2 charges again. So I'm going to refresh these Immolates. But I'm going to wait till I have 2, so I'm going to refresh Immolate again, double conflag, and then go back into spamming Chaos Bolt, and doing my regular DPS rotation. Now this is a really good build to run because you're generating basically you're generating double the effect of Roaring Blaze, which is really nice. Although I would recommend most Warlocks run Backdraft, as Roaring Blaze just like isn't as efficient. It's gonna mess up, especially on any fight with movement and things like that. But overall, it's a pretty fun spec to run to worry about your roaring or worry about immolates and things like that, and just sort of adds an extra flavor to your cleave rotation. So that's how you cleave as a Warlock. Now I want to talk about cleaving without Wreak Havoc. So without Wreak Havoc, say a fight like, I don't know, Mythic Ursoc and the Bear ad is only alive for a little bit, and you're running Soul Conduit. The way you want to go about doing this sort of rotation is you don't want to Havoc before an Immolate is already on that target. So what I mean by that is I'm going to cast an Immolate on both targets and then Havoc, because I want to get as much uptime on Conflagrating and Chaos Bolting on those two targets as I can. So imagine I'm just attacking this dummy, right? And I'm doing my single target rotation, or whatever, right? I'm casting on this target. I know an ad's going to spawn soon, so I'm going to save up some soul shards here. So I'm just going to save up some soul shards, saving my shards, blah, 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 right? Okay, ad spawns. Boom. Oh my gosh. I'm going to Immolate it. I'm going to Havoc it, Conflag, and then I'm just going to spam the shit out of Chaos Bolt until my Havoc is off. Because I just want that double effect from those Chaos Bolts. Okay? So that's how you want to play without running Wreak Havoc. Basically, you want to cast Immolate on that target when it spawns, Havoc it, and then spam the shit out of Chaos Bolt on as many times as you can during that 8-second Havoc duration. So that's kind of how that spec works. Yeah, it's pretty good overall. I would recommend running Backdraft with it. I mostly would not recommend running Roaring Blaze overall. I don't think it's that great of a talent anymore, but it will probably be better come 7.1.5. So now I've gone over single target and cleave, and now I want to talk quickly about Mythic Plus before I end the video. And Mythic Plus, this is generally the build, or even this, what you want to be running. Generally in Mythic Plus, I tend to run a build like this. I'm not a huge fan of Cataclysm, but you can run Cataclysm, and I will show both variations. So this is the build I generally like to run in Mythic Plus. The reason I like to do it is just because it's going to give me some of the highest DPS I can on AoE, while also Reverse Entropy is a decent single target talent. So the way that this works is, say I'm about to approach a trash pack. The way that I do it is I press Havoc on this guy, I'll Immolate, I'll Havoc on this guy, I'll Immolate, and then I just want to go into my regular DPS rotation and just spamming Incinerates as fillers. And the reason this DPS rotation works out so well is because you're basically just doing your 2-target cleave, except your Incinerate is hitting every single target. You're basically doing the same DPS as you would do on 2-target cleave, except your Incinerate is hitting every target instead. So you just want to maintain Immolate on all of these targets while spamming out Incinerates. Like this. And yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Sometimes on fights, it's going to be not worth it for you to cast Chaos Bolt. If there's too many mobs, sometimes it's not even worth it for you to cast Chaos Bolt, and all you want to do is get those instant rain of fires out, and then in between that, just spam Incinerate, like this. If there's too many mobs out, Chaos Bolting's worth it if there's like 6 mobs, but if there's less than 6, or if there's any more than 6, you want to be using Rain of Fire. Okay, so anything more than 5 or 6, you want to be using Rain of Fire. Anything less than that, you want to be using the Havoc Chaos Bolts like this. And then in between that, you just spam out your Incinerates. So this is how you want to do basically Mythic Plus. I'm not that geared as Destro, so you should be able to pull similar numbers to this on 4 targets. So yeah, just, maintain your Havoc on one of the targets, and keep Immolate up on all the other ones, and then between that, use Chaos Bolt as your Soul Shard generator or spender, and yeah, spam Incinerate between that, and you're going to be doing really good DPS. It's pretty fun to run, actually. I don't know why I don't run Destro more in Mythic Plus. It's actually a pretty good spec. So yeah, this is how you generally want to be doing it. It's pretty good. So the build that you want to run instead of this one would be the Cataclysm build. So keeping all else the same, you want to change Cataclysm to one of your talents. And the reason Cataclysm is so good is it's so powerful on AoE, and the reason it is look, okay, I'm going to let all these Immolates fade. So I'm going to keep a Havoc up, let all these Immolates fade. So what you can do is you can pre-Havoc a target, and then you can cast this Cataclysm on all of them, and look, they all get Immolate, and it just did, 1.5 million damage on a cast. It's pretty freaking crazy, because it also applies Immolate to every single one of them. So you can use that to start, and then you just go about the exact same damage rotation you were doing before. The only thing that changes is your Chaos Bolt is a much longer cast now. So when running Cataclysm, it's probably not even that worth for you to cast Bolt unless you need mana, honestly. Just because it's such a long cast, but you can if you want to, just for some flavor, some variation, you know? So yeah, it's a pretty basic spec to run. You can, you know, cast Rain of Fire just if you want to be efficient with your globals, shards, and things like that. So yeah. Those are the two builds I would recommend running for Mythic Plus. This has been my Destro Warlock guide. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it was in-depth for some of you. For some of you, it's probably pretty basic, but I hope you guys could take a couple things from it and apply it to your gameplay. So I hope you guys like this video, and thanks for watching.